My name is Rafael, you watch Rock and Roll Garage, and today I'm going to show you 5 blues guitarists that David Gilmour loves. But first, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment. Well, David Gilmour is mainly a progressive rock musician, but there's a lot of blues in his guitar playing. He was really influenced by the blues, and right now I'm going to show you 5 guitarists that he loves from that music genre. And he really loves them, and he mentioned those players in an interview with Guitar Classics in 1985, and we selected what he said about them over the years, and even the connection between him and those artists. He had the chance to play with some of them, and the first one is B.B. King. It is one of the most important bluesmen of all time, and he had the chance, David Gilmour had the chance to play with B.B. King in 1998 at the Jools Holland show on BBC Two. They had the chance to play together the song Eyesight to the Blind, which is a blues classic written by Sonny Boy Williamson too. And Gilmour recalled in an interview with The Guardian how he had the chance to meet B.B. King and what B.B. King told him, which is really funny. And this is what he said: he's a lovely chap. His early stuff was stupendous, and he's just kept going. I first met him in New York. He came up to me and said, "Hey boy, are you sure you weren't born in Mississippi?" I've played with him a couple of times since, on a later with Jools Holland session and on one of his albums. When he's in the dressing room, he spends all the time writing lyrics. There are some guitar players who are instantly recognizable, and then there are all the rest. Well, you know what better description you need from Gilmour about his admiration of B.B. King, who sadly passed away in 2015 at the age of 89. The second one on the list, it's a British musician now. He was an American musician, now a British one, Eric Clapton. He's a big Eric Clapton fan, especially from Eric Clapton's era in the John Mayall and the Blues Breakers band, and from that classic album, Eric Clapton with John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. Really fantastic album that really inspired many other artists, not only Gilmour. And in an interview with Relics magazine, he talked a little bit about Eric Clapton. This is what he said: all of those guys were incredible, Eric Clapton and Peter Green. I spent time trying to learn how to play their licks perfectly. I would suggest any young player should try to sit down and do that. You will end up knowing how to play their stuff quite well, but eventually you will find your own style from that. It forces its way out of the copying. And other interesting stuff about Gilmour and Clapton, he likes, as I said, the album The Blues Breakers with Eric Clapton, released in 1966 especially. He likes that album so much that he listed in an interview with Guitar Tricks Insider in 2017 this record as one of his favorite of all time. And curiously, if you don't know that, besides Eric Clapton, John Mayall, the bassist and singer of Cream, who will later be Clapton's bandmate, was part of this album playing, and it also featured the future Fleetwood Mac bassist John McAfee. And the third one on the list is Roy Buchanan, and Roy might be a little less known than the other two. He was a incredible guitarist, and he was not he was not successful, commercially successful, but he made a lot of great recordings, like, for example, Sweet Sweet Dreams. If you watched Martin Scorsese's The Departed, the final song of the movie is Sweet Dreams, which is an instrumental song by Roy, his version of that song. And back in the 80s, he had the chance to jam with Pink Floyd. Can you believe that? Dave Gilmour recalled this in an interview with Steve Newton, and this is what he said. They got in touch with the guy who was booking us there in Australia. They both were in Australia at the time, and said they wanted to play with me. So I worked at this club the night before, and I liked the acoustic there. So I asked him to tell them we would meet there. This is Roy Buchanan talking about the meeting between him and Pink Floyd. We jammed for like 40-50 minutes, and the place was just packed. They let me call the shots about what we were playing. David Gilmour, I think he's great, incredible player. And as I said, he was really influential, but he didn't sold a lot of records. And for example, and he was born in Ozark, Arkansas in 1939, started his musical career in 1955. But his debut album would only be released much later in 1971. And he was released 11 more studio albums until his tragic death in 1987 at the age of 48. Not much later, he had the chance to jam with Pink Floyd, a few years later, of course. And the next one that is one of David Gilmour's favorites was Lead Belly, who is probably the oldest one from this list. It is the oldest one of this list. He was born in Morgansport, Louisiana, United States, back in 1888. He's remembered for his strong vocals and his talent on the 12-string guitar, and for the folk standards that he recorded. He was a big inspiration for Gilmour, and Gilmour talked about him, revealing that the Rock Island line, which is a song by Lead Belly, was one of his favorites of all time. And he said this in an interview with BBC Radio 2 back in 2006. This is what Gilmour said about Lead Belly. The Rock Island line was one of his absolute favorites, and he said, Lead Belly, I loved him when I was very young. Loved his 12-string guitar playing. I always enjoyed the 12-string. His story, he was in prison. He got released from prison on a murder charge because he was such a great singer. But for me, Rock Island line was one of the first things I've learned. Also is one of the things that you can actually learn one chord, get your fingers on that guitar in one position and not move from there. You can do the whole song and sing this old song to yourself. So it's a great thing, part of my childhood. So this is what Gilmour said about Lead Belly, and we reached the final one of that list, who is Jeff Beck. I mean, he's often remembered not only for being a blues guitarist, but playing everything. Many people said that Jeff Beck was one of the few guitarists who could play everything he wanted. He could play rockabilly, blues, rock, hard rock, anything, jazz. And it is one of the guitarists mentioned by David Gilmour. And the curious thing is that when Pink Floyd was looking for a guitarist to kind of be the backup for Syd Barrett, back in the late 60s, when Syd Barrett was not in a good mental condition to continue to play with the band live, especially, and they considered Jeff Beck. And it's true, and Dave Gilmour recalled this in an interview with Mojo magazine, and he said, yes, it's true. Before I joined, he was maybe the only other choice they were thinking about. He would have been a bit more explosive if he joined. I suspect Jeff would have left after 6 months. So I don't think the compromises that one has to make to be in a group. I don't think Jeff is that interested in compromise. And he also talked about Jeff in the documentary Jeff Beck Still on the Run in 2018. He said, he's a maverick guitar player who doesn't like to repeat himself, who takes big risks all the time and has done all the way throughout his career. And that's it. Those are the 5 blues guitarists that David Gilmour loves. Obviously, he loves many other guitarists, but these are the 5 ones he selected. In this interview, we mentioned it. If you want to read more, you can go to the description and visit the article I wrote about it. And you can see other videos about David Gilmour and Pink Floyd below the video. You can find them. And let's talk about it. Leave your comment, like the video, subscribe, and don't forget to visit rockandrollgarage.com. Thank you for watching, and I see you later.